Are you tired of wasting money testing ads that don't convert? I know I am. In this episode, you will discover a deceptively simple strategy for finding winning ads for free. And of course, in this episode, we will also be sharing tons more tips, tactics, and strategies for monetizing your business. I'm Caleb O Dowd, and this is the show that brings you profit-producing secrets from the greatest marketers in the world. My guest today is Rich Schefren, a marketer who has helped his clients generate in excess of $1 billion in extra sales. Rich is also a pioneer of just so many business models that people take for granted these days on the internet. I'm talking about the free report, the video sales letter, the webinar, even business coaching. And I can't wait to grill Rich on everything that he's up to right now. Rich, welcome to the show.
Thanks for the intro. I have gobs of respect for you as well. I don't know anyone better than you at creating offers. When we've promoted some of your offers and webinars, we've gotten some of the highest EPCs that we've ever seen, far surpassing even our own promotions. And so our 50% of your promotion was a higher EPC than what 100% of our own promotions were. Wow. I'm here to, drop as much knowledge as you want to get out of me, but I'm also excited to kind of bounce some ideas back and forth with you.
Awesome. Well, let's do it, man. Well, perhaps the best place to start is just kind of, who is Rich Schefren? How did you get into this game? How did you climb to pretty much the top of the totem pole here in terms of, marketers and business owners online? How did that journey take place?
I started actually in very different businesses. I was in the fashion business and the music business, and I really learned PR and image style advertising and branding. And after I got out of that business, I took like a year or two off and ended up getting hypnotized and found that I'm highly hypnotizable. So then I opened up a hypnosis office, and that grew into a chain of hypnosis offices. But what made it grow was me learning direct response, because when I first started advertising for the hypnosis centers and I was using image style advertising, the phone did not ring. And what I found was that the more that I thought the ad was cheesy, the more that I was embarrassed by the ad, the more it worked. And I had this realization that I had to have an education in this kind of advertising that elicited a direct response. And that led me to learning from people like Dan Kennedy and Gary Halbert and Jay Abraham. Hired a few of them as well to work on ads for me. And the hypnosis business grew really fast, 0 to 13.5 million in about 3.5 years. And then 9/11 happened. And then, and our offices were all throughout New York City. So all the places that we were able to advertise, we were not. And FEMA took our phone lines, and I made some bad deals. And so just a bunch of things happening all at the same time. And so I had to get out of that business. I got drawn to online marketing and getting online in 2001. When it was time to get online, I had these two kind of things going on in my head. One, I want to do direct response. I dig it. I like getting the feedback. Our original ads that we first started running, we'd get like 40 phone calls. And by the time we were done, we'd get over 450 phone calls from the same ad. I mean, obviously, the ads were different, right? But we did full page ads in the daily news, like 5 out of the 7 days a week. And we could split tests. We could do A/B tests there. So that's how I learned a lot. And the other thought in the back of my head was, what was being pitched in like BizOps stuff as related to online was that you didn't need any employees, that you could like check your laptop at the beach. And that seemed so appealing to me. Of course, it didn't work out that way. And so for the first year or year and a half online, I really struggled. I tried to do everything myself, and there's just a lot of things I'm not good at. And so I was able to very quickly kind of pivot and be able to treat my business like a real business. And once I did that, my results radically changed. And during that time, I'd also made a bunch of friends going to events like Big Seminar. And my friends like noticed the change, right? Now I was making a lot more money, but they didn't have the same bank of knowledge that I had as far as understanding all the elements of business. And so for them, the change wasn't as easy. And that's what kind of motivated me to want to get into coaching. I first went to Jay Abraham, brought him online and did a big event there. And we did a coaching program for about 2 years together. We did a teleseminar series, bringing Jay online. And then the back end of that was this coaching program, which I loved. And that's when I decided to go into coaching. I helped a lot of people get great success. I mean, they were certainly more responsible for their success than I was, but, I certainly, accelerated people's path to success, people like Brunson and Dice and all those guys. And then I was kind of a behind the scenes player, and, no one really knew who I was. And I was making maybe like 25, 30,000 a month, and I was comfortable, still not making as much as I had made offline, but comfortable. I didn't know what to do. And the reason I was only making money from coaching was because I had no front end products. I had no mid-tier products. All I had was my coaching program. And I knew direct response. So I knew I needed like acquisition tools, like a front end product and things to upsell and things like that. But I was so scared to take any of the content out of my coaching program with the fear that I'd be cannibalizing my coaching program. And I was listening to a set of audios, Dan Kennedy's info and consulting, coaches and consulting boot camp. Someone asked this question that was really, if I was there, it would have been the question I asked. And I remember Dan's answer specific because it just kind of like seared into my brain. Someone said like, I want to create these products, but I'm afraid of cannibalizing my coaching program. And Dan just laughed at him, which Dan doesn't laugh very often. And so that was interesting. And he said, Bubba, you just don't get it. You take your best ideas from your coaching program and you put them in your front end products because that's what's going to get people to want to buy your coaching program. And so I wrote this report called the Internet Business Manifesto. It was kind of like the first lead magnet. And lo and behold, right, it changed my life, right? There's really like my life before that report and there's my life after, and they're very different. That worked so well that I then wrote a series of reports for the next 18 months. And every report I wrote brought in millions of dollars because every report I wrote was about a way of seeing things that then I would launch a coaching program like in alignment with that set of beliefs after. So that's how I made the money from that. What I realized was that all of these successes came about because I or my clients were leveraging a marketing tactic or strategy early on in its life cycle where many of the other people in that market or niche or industry were not using it. That's when I created this program called Steal Our Winners. And that's been our flagship product ever since. Strategies and tactics that are currently crushing it online that most people don't know about yet. It's grown quite significantly in our subscriber base, and it's also grown in what we deliver. So we're at a point today where we deliver 104 episodes a year. And so that's put me in this position of being someone who really knows what's going on right now, right? And that's awesome because I still have my 5 to 10 private clients that I keep, and it makes it really simple for me to help my private clients just being so plugged in to different strategies and different tactics that are crushing it at the moment.
That's an amazing story. Your impact on the internet marketing world has been, enormous. Previous to Steal Our Winners, how did you stay on the cusp of what was working, and where did that kind of come from? Where does the inspiration come from these things?
There's a bunch of factors. One, I would say, just like you were a protege of Gary Halbert, right? I was a protege of Jay Abraham, communicated on a daily basis and spent a lot of time together. He doesn't start his calls with his friends and colleagues and peers with, how you doing? He asks, what's working?
Yeah.
Like that's how he starts the question, right? What's working? And if you do that all day long, every day, guaranteed that by the end of the day, you know more than you did at the beginning of the day. And so I guess that kind of rubbed off on me a little bit.
You reminded me of my late Facebook traffic mentor, Kevin Hutto. He passed away. He was a phenomenal guy and a real genius, in my humble opinion. And I had a very similar conversation with him in terms of like, where do you come up with this stuff? Because I always thought that he was next level in everything that he was doing. And his response was, I'm always helping people, and I'm always like, when people call me, I'm always helping them. And when I call people, I'm always telling them my business problems, and I'm always telling them what I'm trying to do. And, you know, solutions and ideas flow that way. And I always thought there's so many entrepreneurs that are so closed. They're so restrictive. They feel like they're holding on to like the keys to the kingdom, and they want to keep it all in, for themselves, and they don't want to share. And I really don't think those are the guys that kind of progress the farthest and are in the game for the longest. It's the ones that are constantly sharing where they're going, what they're doing, the challenges that they have, and helping other people. When you tell someone your problems, they tend to tell you their problems. When you tell somebody your dreams and your goals and the things you're trying to accomplish, they tell you theirs in return. And I think that's helped me a lot in business. Just constantly telling people what I'm doing, the problems I'm having, what I need, what's working for me. And it just comes back, and you end up creating this kind of circle of awesome sharing of tactics, and strategies. And I think that it's a very, very powerful answer to that question.
Also, I had a guy who ran my business. His name was Brian Johnson. Could never be a guru because like his Colby score was a 5.555, exactly like in the middle of the road, like complete vanilla guy. But he went to Harvard. He was a pilot, super bright guy, way smarter than me. And I don't know why he thought this, but he felt like one of his roles was to make my crazy ideas like actually happen. While he was working with me, like one day in passing, I was like, oh, it'd be so cool if we could live stream like from an event. The next event, there's satellite trucks in the parking lot. They're snaking ISDN lines through the hotel. But I think there was something to that, that I had a great executor that just felt like if I had a stupid, crazy idea, it was his mission to make it happen. And, so that kind of was the same thing with webinars, that we were handling the marketing for a Jay Abraham product called Masters of Passive Income. And at that time it was a teleseminar. And because teleseminars were pretty popular and we had automated that. And I just said in passing, because like people had just started like doing webinars like Citrix Online. And I was like, oh, it'd be so cool if we could turn this into a webinar. Like if we could turn Jay's teleseminar into a webinar, have him be out in front with it. That was the extent of my like genius idea, just saying it in passing. And then Brian's mission of making it happen. So I would say that. I'd also say I have always paid careful attention to what resonates with me and try to understand why. Anytime that I'm scrolling on Instagram and I stop, I'm wondering why I stopped. What was it that made me stop? Mm-hmm. Right. And recognizing that I might not be the consumer for lots of things, but getting someone's attention is difficult. And if something got my attention, I want to understand why it got my attention. So I've always kind of looked at my own behavior, recognize how sometimes silly it is. Like, why will I always buy an iPhone no matter how much someone convinces me that a Samsung phone is better? Like, what's really going on there, right? And I want to understand that so that it makes me a better marketer.
I always say, and I take crap for this, but I don't read too many books, but I reverse engineer a lot of competitors. If I read a book, I usually get a head full of information. If I reverse engineer a competitor, I usually get tactics that I can turn into money in like 7 to 10 days. So for me, the time that it takes to read a book, I actually learn far more. I earn far more by like buying someone's funnel, reverse engineering what it is that they're doing, and and implementing the cool ideas there. And it sounds like you've, done that perhaps in a different way, but you said that there was a company that was kind of doing webinars and they were outside the internet marketing space, and
Right.
you kind of took that idea and applied it here. I mean, that in and of itself is genius. Jay Abraham talks about that a lot, the idea of taking what's working from one industry and applying it in another. By the way, a quick reminder to press the like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss all of the great tips that are coming in future episodes. Let's talk about creative there. You mentioned that a lot of the guys that are sharing things with you and Steal Our Winners, it's all about creatives these days.
Yeah. So one of the interviews I did was with a gentleman by the name of Nick Shackelford, who runs a 9-figure Facebook agency and has been a 9-figure agency for many years. He also was the guy that did the fidget spinner, and so very successful dude. And he, at that time, this was like 4 or 5 years ago, he was telling me that he was opening a second agency that was just focused on creative. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Oh, why are you doing that?" And he said, "It's only a matter of time until media buying is dead. They're slowly taking away our options. And I imagine sometime in the future, there'll be less and less ability for media buyers to target specific, and it'll all come down to creative." So he's very, very premonition on that. But so he said that to me like 5 years ago. What I did an episode about 2 years ago with this guy, Walter Birch, where he was talking about YouTube advertising, and he distinguished between opening up a YouTube ad in one of two ways, either teasing them on what's coming or injecting value within the first 15 seconds of that ad. And he called that giving them a taste. And I was blown away by that. And it made a lot of sense to me. And partly it made a lot of sense to me because some of the reports I wrote back in 2007 were all centered around attention. So it made sense, like that would be a better way to get people's attention. And I shared that episode with a bunch of friends of mine. And one of the friends I shared it with was Donnie French. And Donnie French is a copywriter that he's co-owner of a company called Performance Golf. Donnie tested it and it worked. And so then he rolled it out throughout his company, and his company was in a big growth spurt during that time. So they spent like $56 or $58 million on advertising over the next 18 months. And everything, they did like 5,600 different tests, and they had 18 ads fully scale across all platforms. So that meant like spending over 100,000 on every platform of that ad. And of those 18 at 18 followed that format of injecting value right up front. But there was something that Donnie said in that interview that has haunted me ever since that interview, that really was kind of like an aside, but not the main point of that episode. And it was very different than what I had thought about, because I had learned direct response 30 years ago. And when I learned direct response, it was the offer, list, offer, copy, right? But when I thought about offer and offer being so important, I just thought about the offer itself. And Donnie said something in the interview that said an offer is only as good as the creative that can be created around it. Yeah. And I was like, wow, that's such a different way of thinking, because like when I was doing newspaper advertising, the offer was in the ad. Like the creative, like the offer was in, like when I did a classified ad, it was a summary of the offer right up there. Like it wasn't this idea that you create something distinct and separate from the offer, and that you can judge an offer based on the creative that you can generate that brings people congruently to that offer. And he took it like as a fact. That's why it wasn't like a major focus of the episode, but he's been in direct response for 5 years and I've been in it for 30 years. And so to me, that was like a change of definition almost, right? Like I have to think about this differently. And then lately, I've noticed that, because we have a lot of really top media buyers that are contributors to Steal Our Winners. And lately, you can learn a lot from any individual episode, because every individual episode is like, here's a result, here's how we're generating the results. Like, here are the steps, right? That's what a regular episode is all about. But I have the unique luxury of being on all the episodes and being kind of a deep thinker. And so I get to think about what's the moral of all these stories. Is there one? And what I've noticed recently is that a lot of the episodes with the top media buyers that I've done, they are really excited about their creative testing strategy. Like, that's what excites them. That's what's generating them results now. And that short form video is like an insanely important skill. I did this episode with Jordan Menard, and Jordan Menard was one of the best media buyers for info publishers until he decided no longer to be a media buyer for info publishers and went e-commerce D2C, right? But when he was media buying for info products, he helped scale Sam Ovens. He managed the Morrison Brothers. He did Bob Proctor. He worked for Agora. He worked for us, right? And he did an episode that he called The Three Magic Numbers. He had this case study where he had taken a client that was paying like $2.79 per click and brought like the click cost down to like, I think 69 cents, 78 cents, something like that. So like an 80% drop, right? And not only did it drop the cost per click by 80%, but the audience was actually a better audience. Like, the CPMs were higher for that audience. And he started the episode by saying most media buyers make the mistake that to get to the best audiences in a niche, it's a function of lookalike audiences or targeting. He's like, I think I disagree with that. That's what he said. I think I disagree with that. I think it's a function of the creative. And then he talked about how he had brought this price, from $2.79 to $79 or whatever. And he talked about these three magic numbers, and that the three magic numbers were percent that stops scrolling. When you get 40% or better to stop scrolling, when you get 5% to engage with the ad in any way, that means that they press volume, right? They comment, they emote, whatever, right? But they've done something with the ad. And you get 3% clicking over. Facebook seems to show it to better and better audiences because it's in alignment with what they want, right? That people are engaging, they're spending more time, they're doing things on the platform, right? Like, these are all good signals for Facebook, right? So when I shot that episode, I was like, wow, so someone with great creative could be paying 20% what someone with crappy creative is paying, right? And that could be the difference between being able to scale immensely or thinking you have a loser on your hands.
Yeah.
The two drivers of really effective advertising are getting all the data back into the platform so that whatever platform you're advertising on knows who you're looking for, right? Yeah. And, you want more people like that. And having really good creative. Those are the two elements. We're spending a lot more time on organic short form because, we'd rather get the education for free of what resonates and what doesn't, knowing that if we can create a organic short form or an organic post that does something, we can copy it and turn it into an ad. But we're also getting educated because there were a lot of assumptions that we were making that were completely wrong.
I love it. I'll tell you, yesterday, I had a phone call with an affiliate that's doing 2,000 sales a day on Facebook. I was asking him, what's your secret? He's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, every day, and he's generating 2,000 sales for just one offer, and he's running multiple offers. And his answer is the same as an answer I got. I was in Joe Schrieffer's office in Baltimore in Agora, and I'm going to probably insult this guy now. I can't think of his name, but he was he was the top traffic partner for Agora. He had an agency, and he was just sending massive amounts of traffic to Agora Financial. And I asked him after the meeting was over, I was like, dude, what makes you like the top dog here, you know? And he was like, oh, he's like, I just test 800 ads a day. And he's like, it's just a volume game. He's like, everybody thinks I'm, you know, like it's all tactics and strategies. He's like, it's just 800 ads a day is what my company tests. This guy yesterday literally told me, I said, what's the secret to success, man? How are you getting to 2,000 sales a day? And he's like, oh, yeah. He's like, I got this tool. So he said, I create 10 hooks, 10 calls to action, and then 10 ads. And I load it up into this tool that I made, and it like creates several hundred variations of ads. And then I just test all of those ads like within like a 5-day period to 1x the front end sale. So if the front end sale is $50, he'll test several hundred ads, whatever. He didn't tell me the precise number, but it's probably hundreds of ads, hundreds of variations. And he will spend, like, he'll test all of those hundreds of ads times the front end sale. So $50 is an example. And then within 5 days, he's got winners and he's got breakthrough ads. And then he just hammers the breakthrough ads. And I said, where are you coming up with all the hooks and everything? And he's like, I just study like what ads are killing it. And, you know, I just like take those hooks and then I write them down. And then when I like record the videos, in his case, he was doing UGC, user generated content. He was just having guys like, you know, hold an iPhone in front of their face. But man, this guy was killing it. And his whole strategy was, I see what other guys are doing. I take their hooks, I translate it into what it is that I'm promoting. I have 10 hooks, 10 body copy versions, 10 calls to action. I load it up into this tool. This tool gives me several hundred variations and I just test them all. And I thought, beast. Yeah. What a beast, you know? Amazing. But I really love the idea of employing that same strategy, but doing it in organic traffic. And it resonates with me even more powerfully because I actually know somebody that is putting together a training on, you know, how to crank out viral videos and put them out on social media. And again, that's kind of a volume play as well. If you put out like, you know, several hundred videos, one of them or two of them is going to go bananas. But I love the idea of then taking that ad and then using it as a paid ad on a traffic platform. I think that's brilliant. It's a free way to test ads without, you know, before wasting ad spend. Do you use any spy tools? Do you like I've gone down the rabbit hole on spy tools. People binge Netflix. I like binge spy tools.
I thought it was really interesting what Peter Kell said at Todd Brown's Copy Legends. So for those that don't know who Peter Kell is, he's the copywriter behind Mind Valley's success. He kind of invented a different kind of VSL called the docu-style VSL, like where you can do the whole thing on YouTube.
He did the Silva method VSL, which is brilliant.
And what he said, and maybe this resonates with you because you're more of a copywriter than I am. I'm more of a marketer, right? But he said that like all he did was relentlessly study VidTal, right? Look at the top advertisers, the top 10, knowing that he wanted his to be there. And so all he kept doing is, that was the goal. I want to have my ads in the top 10, right? Most money put behind. And so he would just relentlessly study the ones that were on the top 10, break them down. I would love to know a great tool for Instagram. I know I hadn't thought of using it.
I don't look honestly too much at Instagram. I do Facebook and YouTube, and the tool that I love most, because I kind of bounce from one to the other there, but the one that I love most right now is from Robbie Blanchard, who I intend to have on the show here shortly. It's called Spy Hero. You can search for offers via category, via niche, via platform. You can search via ad spend. on YouTube. So you can find out like how much they're spending per ad. And then on Facebook, you can search for how much they're spending on per ad, but you can see like who's been running ads for the longest time. And I just love that tool. I really do. I anytime I sit down and look at that, it drives me wild. It makes me crazy. There's so many great ads, so many great business ideas come from that stuff. So it's great to see so many guys doing such great things. There's this offer out there, and it's like teach your kid to read, and these guys are like, this is just they're just slamming this offer, and it's such a cool offer. So many great offers, so much great advertising, and so many great ads, so many great video ads.
And how do you go about it? Just out of curiosity, like you log in and then do you just like pick a category, like you personally?
Yeah, I mean, you can pick a niche. You can pick. Honestly, I'll tell you really how I do it because I'm just like I just love this stuff. So I like on YouTube, for example, I'll just search by ad spend. I want to know who's spending the most amount of money because that's it at the end of the day. And of course, it's the guy spending the most amount of money is the AT&Ts, the Geicos of the world. But you scan down a few pages there, and bang, you're going to see the Mickelson twins. You know what I mean? You're going to see those guys promoting some BizOp webinar. There's a lot of like ClickBank nutraceutical guys. There's you if you search that way, you kind of get this rank order of like how much money is being spent on ads. I've also found like there's these mattress guys. I think it's Purple Mattress or
Yeah,
something.
purple. Yeah.
Have you ever seen their ads?
I've seen some. Yeah. And I remember meeting someone from marketing from there a couple of years ago, and they
Their
were
ads are
super
brilliant.
sharp.
Their ads are next level genius, brilliant. Um, yeah, they have like they'll put an egg on the bed and they'll drop this pane of glass from the roof and it won't break the egg. Like if you want demonstrative proof element advertising, those guys are brilliant at it. And they've spent like, I don't know, I don't even remember now, but it's like 15 million on just one ad on YouTube. You know what I mean? So I really love just investigating that stuff. I love, sometimes I'm not even looking for anything specific, but if I have a client or I'm thinking of getting into a niche, or if I'm looking for a unique hook or something, I'll usually kind of search via niche. It's I ClickBank. Like Click. There are offers on ClickBank doing 1 million a day. Whether you like that style of advertising or not, it's undeniably effective. So I like to look at them. I like to just kind of look around, man.
And
And
do you think it's more important today than ever before to do that? Because it's it's so competitive, right? Two, everything moves fast. So, it's not like 30 years ago where, you could be advertising in newspapers and, a lot of people aren't going to see it. Nowadays, the time that it takes to get knocked off is probably a lot shorter, right? So it would seem that being on top of competitive intelligence tools, especially when looking for ideas of what's working, is even more important today than it's ever been, just because of the speed of things and the implications that when you have a hit, you can go so far, so wide, so fast, right? Like, because the internet allows that to happen.
I don't think it's important. I think it is absolutely essential. I just don't see how you could survive and thrive in the world of cold traffic advertising without that. I really don't. I just don't know how it would be possible. I, to operate in complete isolation without, any idea what's working and how it's working and how it's working at the highest levels, to not be able to see that and understand that, I just I really I I just don't know how you would be able to succeed. I really don't. The most successful guys that I know are relentlessly studying other advertisers. The top cold traffic advertisers that I know are relentless daily students of studying other guys that are succeeding. I just don't know how it could be done any other way, you know? I really don't know how you could operate in isolation. By the time a course gets created about what's working, it's all outdated.
Yeah, it's all outdated, especially for this
It's
kind
all
of stuff.
outdated. By the time somebody tells you a tactic, by the time it get maybe not to your ears, but to everybody else's ears, by the time you hear about it, it's done. There are guys that are 10 steps ahead of that. So to me, if you want to succeed in the game of cold traffic advertising, it's medicine. You cannot survive without it. It's food. You cannot live for long in that world without relentlessly studying other advertisers. You need a lot of creative. It's the only way you can succeed. And you need a lot of ideas. And you can only, in isolation, you're only capable of so many good ideas within a certain period of time. But you need far more ideas than that. And you need them daily. So in order to come up with that quantity of ideas, you've got to be studying, guys. And, it's the whole Jay Abraham thing. Some of the best ideas I've gotten, in my markets have been studying markets like the pregnancy market or the dog training market. There's even ads there on like how to teach your kid to read. They're stunning. They're absolutely brilliant. There's an ad. There's an offer out there that teaches elderly people how to not trip and fall. These ads are great. They're great ads, and you can take those ads and you can, like, not always, but they're idea starters. If an ad is killing it in one niche, it's got a very high likelihood that that formula that's at play with that ad will work in your niche. And if not, by compiling formulas that are working elsewhere and applying them in your niche, that's a winning strategy. It's not that every ad you would, like every ad from the pregnancy niche that you would use in the internet marketing niche. It's not that formula works every time, but if you're using that as a business model, it's a foregone conclusion that this formula, that formula, the other formula, this hook, that hook, the other hook is going to kill it for you. I do spend a lot of time studying ClickBank. If you look at the VSLs on ClickBank, if you look at the first, I usually look at the first like 30 seconds, then the first 2 minutes, and then the first 10 minutes. And I try and do that with pretty much the top 20 offers, definitely the top 10, because what you're looking at there are the most effective hooks, the most effective concepts that are out there making millions a day. And I'm always keeping an eye on those platforms because, again, I may not be selling a health supplement, but that hook is a winner to the tune of millions of dollars a day. So yeah, I'm going to be paying attention to that stuff.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Well, a lot of people want to outsource their thinking. So they'd rather, to your point, like read a book, take a course, and have someone else having thought that through, like kind of put it to them, right? Versus looking at what's working and kind of think through, why does that work? What are they doing? And break it down, right? It's like, and you can't outsource your thinking,
That's an interesting way of saying it. You can't outsource your thinking. Yeah. At least that level, on that level, there's no one that'll do that hard work for you except yourself.
Yeah. And you kind of need to know it if you're going to run an online business of any sort.
Yeah. Rich, this has been a great talk, man. I feel like I could talk to you for, the next several hours here, but dude, where can people go to learn more about Steal Our Winners and Rich Schefren? Where should they go?
They can go to strategicprofits.com. That's where we have a free trial for Steal Our Winners. I think it's like a 1 week or 2 week trial. And if they want to see what I'm trying to do on with short form myself right now, they can check me out on Instagram, and that's The Real Rich Schefren. And those would be the two places. So strategicprofits.com or The Real Rich Schefren.
I'd love to know, based on what Rich and I were talking about here today, what was your biggest takeaway or aha moment? Go ahead, share your thoughts below, and I look forward to hearing from you. Also, if you have a question about marketing, advertising, or monetization that you would like my help with, all you got to do is send me an email to caleb@monetizationresearch.com, and I'll do my best to include my response in an upcoming episode. In the next episode, we'll be diving into the topic of how to get 2 to 3 times more sales for your product or service than you're getting right now. My guest will be Dan Lehman, a marketer who spends over $100,000 a day on Facebook ads. Trust me, that episode will be worth gold, so don't miss it. And as always, the best way to stay in the loop with all things monetization is to join our free newsletter, Monetization Daily. Get it at monetizationresearch.com. We'll send you our favorite news, tips, tactics, and discoveries about how to monetize your business, which is ultimately all about increasing your profits. Again, head on over to monetizationresearch.com.